Have you ever noticed how you can be incredibly capable and still hesitate at the exact moment it matters most? You know you're good. You know you're valuable. And yet you over-prepare. You hold back. You replay that conversation later and think, I should have said, I could have said, I wish I'd said. And maybe you never quite fitted in to the world's boxes. Maybe like me, you struggled to even find the words for your ideas, even though you felt them deeply. On the surface, it looks like procrastination, or being oversensitive, or a lack of discipline. But what if it's something else? What if the hesitation isn't weakness? What if it's power? Power that's misdirected. For sensitive, creatively wired nervous systems, moments of being misunderstood don't disappear, they imprint. And when they aren't processed, they form something powerful. Resentment. Not just loud anger. I believe resentment has two waves. The first is obvious, the angry wave. Reactive, sharp, loud. The second is quieter. The quiet wave is subtle, draining, long-term. It shows up as hesitation, overthinking, chronic depletion, and quiet powerlessness. Which wave do you recognize yourself in? Because resentment isn't just emotion. In my work, I define it as restricted leadership energy. Energy that wants to act, it wants to lead, but loops instead of directs. And looping, repressed power, builds nothing and restricts true progress. Now I know this because I've lived it for 25 years. As a neurodivergent, highly sensitive creative, I carried years of frustration from feeling misunderstood at gatherings, in conversations, and in business. It didn't look like anger. It looked like silence, freeze, overthinking. I thought I lacked confidence, but really, my power was looping, not leading. I was stuck in stories of unfairness, and staying in that story kept me powerless. Today, I'm not handing you any comfort. I'm handing you responsibility. The responsibility to lead within the system, not blame it. For your health, for your wealth, for your self-expression. To inspire others to do the same. Let me ask you, where are you still telling that old story? Because resentment isn't the enemy. It's the signal. A signal that power needs recalibrating. It's not about suppression, not avoiding. Trained. That's why I created the 4 Ps Neurocreative Flow Framework. Because insight alone doesn't change reality. Structure and wiring do. Power is phase 1. Play is phase 2. Process is 3. Projects is the 4th phase. 4 sequential phases for creative, neurodivergent leaders who don't need more hustle. They need nervous system safe structures. What does that mean? It means neurodivergent leaders and neurodiverse thinkers can learn to automatically self-regulate and to self-lead before considering anyone else's needs or wants, so that they can serve powerfully from their clearly defined message, voice, energy, and projects. Power always comes first, because without personal power, everything else collapses. You can't access play if resentment is looping in the background. You can't build processes if decisions are emotionally hijacked. You can't ship projects out if hesitation wins at the final moment, especially if hesitation wins at the final moment. So what is power? Emotional leadership. Stabilizing your internal state so decisions become embodied, not reactive. When power stabilizes, play reopens. When play reopens, process aligns. When process aligns, projects ship and launch and land. This isn't productivity. It's neurocreative architecture. Inside power lives a mighty, trainable decision-making mechanism. Recognize, refresh, rehearse, and result. Recognize the challenge, the pattern, the feelings. Which wave am I in? Angry or quiet? Refresh, becoming clean and calm again. And neutral, rapidly. Rehearse what actually matters now, not what happened then. Result, if I were leading, what would I say? What micro action would move this forwards? Become the new action, the new wiring, and the new identity. Whether it's short-term, mid-term, or long-term results, the 4 R's can help you get there and back into your personal power. Are you up for practicing this in real time with me? To shift something for you right now? If you are, let's practice it. Be sure you're in a gentle, quiet, private space and feeling regulated already. Tap out a gentle rhythm somewhere on your body, if it's on your lap or your ribs, somewhere comfortable and relaxed. This is what I call power stimming, creating safety. Make it a powerful choice to explore and decide how you think and feel right now. Think of something small but irritating, a hesitation, a conversation you avoided, or something you want to get done that hasn't happened yet for some reason. Just take a moment to get present to it. Be okay with it. Look above and down and see yourself from above. And be okay with it. Today, you want to do something about it, but there's some resistance. Just be with that resistance. So recognize. Is there an angry wave, reactive and obvious? Or is it a quiet wave, a subtle, draining, long-term, ongoing thing that's been bugging you for a while? Now let's refresh. You got present to it. Give yourself a face rub your hands, feel the sensation. You got emotionally convicted to it. You actually stuck with it for a moment. So clear your mind, rub your hands together, feeling into this clean and calm and connected vibe to some single sensation in the moment. A feeling, a sound, a visual. Take a moment to clear, feel calm and refresh. And now, rehearse what actually matters now. Not what happened then, but now. If you were leading in your power, what would you say? What would you be doing? What would you be creating? Be there imagining the alternative, desired outcome happening right now. Take it down into your heart that you know you can take actions. You can create anything you want. You are a neurocreative leader. And as you keep tapping into it, what would you say now? What would you do now? Know that it's possible and be there in the possibility. What is a micro action that would help you move forwards? Dropping this down into the gut, from your heart down into your gut. Take the energies down into your gut to digest. What's the simplest, smallest micro action? Even if it's just one first small step. Maybe it's too obvious. That takes you to that next known step. That micro step is so important to imagine it happening now. That you can do it. To know you can do it. Maybe it's ask someone. As long as you have that one first step, you can move it all from this moment onwards. That's how your power shifts, with reflection, with the inspired decision-making framework. In seconds, not months. You can stop the tapping or carry on if you wish. Bear in mind that it can be done in much more detail depending on how complex this decision-making process is for you and needs to be. And just notice which one of those R's is a more weak spot for you that can be worked out going forwards. Because insight without embodiment is just theory. And embodiment without repetition is just hope. Power must be trained. Most people wait to feel confident before acting. Leaders train confidence through action. When I studied my master's in osteopathy, I dropped almost everything. I had to make it through. Relationships paused. Life narrowed. Because mastery requires nervous system discipline, and leadership is biology before it is branding. I applied that same discipline to emotional leadership from freeze and silence to speaking daily, from hesitation to mastering enrolment. I didn't become less sensitive, I became trained. Once my power stabilized, play returned, curiosity, voice, creative courage. My shy introvert identity dissolved when resentment stopped blocking my expression. Process means designing natural rhythms, not sticking to rigid rules. Creative minds don't need tighter cages, they need fluid structure, or fluid planning, as I like to call it. Because rejection sensitivity is persuasive. It will convince you to shrink until power is trained. And then we can ship and launch and land. Let me make this real. I worked with a founder who had been stalling and stalled on a flagship over a year. A flagship offer for over a year. Not because they weren't capable. They were brilliant. They are brilliant. Deeply creative. Strategic thinker. Big vision. But here's what actually was happening beneath the surface. They were in constant scatter. They would start refining the offer and then redesign it. Then question the pricing. Then question everything again. Then delay the launch. Their body was in pain. Physical mobility was declining. Energy was unpredictable. They were terrified of burning out again. There was a quiet resentment about past criticism from collaborators, from partners, previous partners and launchers, from moments where their ideas weren't received well by others. But they didn't call it resentment. They called it being careful. They called it waiting until it was perfect, or waiting till the right moment, when they felt ready. They thought they needed better marketing, or a better plan. They didn't. They were in the quiet wave. Their power was looping. So we didn't start with funnels or strategy. We didn't start with branding. We started with power. We identified where emotional charge was hijacking decisions. We used the recognize, refresh, rehearse, result loop. Recognizing this hesitation isn't logic, it's stored charge. Refreshing what actually matters in this launch. Rehearsing what does leadership look like right now, not next month. And here's what happened. Within weeks, physical mobility improved because the nervous system wasn't in consistent contraction. Creative momentum returned because decisions stopped looping. Play reopened because fear was no longer driving refinement. And the offer, it launched and it landed. Not because we pushed harder, because biology, rhythm, and identity aligned. That is the power of stabilizing power first. When power stabilizes, clarity accelerates. When clarity accelerates, action simplifies. When action simplifies, momentum builds and becomes predictable. This isn't motivational. It's mechanical. The biggest trap: staying in the story, That's just how it is. That's just my diagnosis. That's just a system. That all keeps power looping. So I'll ask you again, which wave are you in? And what would leadership look like today? What could it look like today? Neurocreative leadership isn't self-help. It's self-leadership architecture. For creative neurodivergent brains, designing rhythms, building meaningful projects, turning brilliance into momentum. I don't know anyone else combining neurodivergence, creative flow science, nervous system biology, leadership, business strategy, and mental fitness. This is an emerging field, and leaders who understand it now will define what comes next. Let's recap. We started with hesitation, we named resentment, we identified the angry wave and the quiet wave. We reframed resentment as restricted leadership energy. We introduced the 4 Ps, power first. We trained the 4 R loops. We saw how stabilizing power reopens play. It aligns process then and ships the projects. So now the real question is, will your power keep looping or will it lead? If you're serious about leading at this level, not emotionally, not occasionally, not structurally, book a Neurocreative Leadership Blueprint application call. 4 places remain this year. On that call, we map where your power is looping, where play is blocked, where process is misaligned, and what projects are waiting for you and your leadership. Because knowing about power is one thing, installing it changes everything. Stop resensing the past and start rechanneling your power into projects the world is waiting for. Let's build power that lasts.